Okay, we have everything here, and everything has a centered pivot, which is very good. So, about other tools that we are also using and developing, or maybe just, I call them tools, but they are in essence just scripts that run in a context. So, there are some other things. This will create a map from our base template, which is not really yet ready at all, but we'll set up level scene, an empty one, but with the environment system, with color correction shaders, and all the good stuff that you don't need to add manually every time you start a new scene. This we have just seen, and select nodes with the same mesh as selected. This is just a small utility that if you have multiple meshes of the same type spread out across the map or even in your node tree, it will select all of them, and you don't even need to use the filter option in the node tree. Then select nodes intersecting selected mesh. This is a very interesting thing because it will select things that are exactly intersecting whatever you have selected. So it will deselect that object and will select nearby objects that are essentially piercing through the original object, which is sometimes useful when we use procedural placement of meshes like rocks and grass and plants, and sometimes in some games I will not mention, you will see grass growing from rocks and trees inside the terrain and stuff like that, and yeah, trying to be careful about that, that's all. And prune occluded mesh instances, which will check for meshes inside meshes and will delete the ones inside. So if you cannot see it from any side, what good is it for? Unless it is a sensor or something of any of that kind, but usually you don't want objects to be out of sight, consuming memory and processor time and GPU. So speaking of GPU, we have geometry tools like pack anything you have selected to a static mesh. We can extract array meshes. This is something that also works in the browser and works a lot better from the browser or from the file system, as Godot calls it. And you can pretty much be a little more selective. This is good when you download like object packs that come inside one single GLTF or FBX file or Blender file, and it separates all of them in a specific way. Sometimes it's cleaner to separate by materials, sometimes it's cleaner to separate by vertex groups, and even if you want, you can extract the combined mesh, which is like when you have yeah, exactly like an FBX file with multiple files, and it will just create an OBJ file out of anything basically. Reassign pivot, we just saw that. You can convert Godot proprietary formats into OBJ. So if you made prefab and you want to export that prefab to make further edits without losing what you already had made in Godot. Let's say you changed the textures or the materials, or you made some fancy stuff and you want to send that back to your 3D app, you can do that pretty much. It just doesn't open the app automatically for you. That you have to do. Subdivision, it will create 3 variants of the same object with subdivision and smoothing. This is very important because you can subdivide without smoothing. You just add more polygons without changing shape. This does not do that. This is particularly useful when we are working with low poly meshes that we get from free packs. And some of them, they look kind of nice, but they are lacking some detail, and this is used to mitigate that before exporting the object back to the 3D app and editing everything back again. Replace Godot resources with OBJ files. This is useful sometimes because we prefer OBJ files, to be honest. Array meshes are good, but they are not very flexible, I think. Replace Godot native resources with OBJ files that you have selected, but project-wide. That means it will check every scene in the project, and whenever it finds this reference, it will replace it with the selected OBJ file you have. This is more of a maintenance tool than anything else. It doesn't really change any geometry. For textures, we have like resize the textures to power of 2 in overwrite and copy mode, which is also a good thing to have because sometimes you just want to make the texture more, let's say, compatible, efficient with the way GPUs expect textures to be passed. Okay, so we were talking about power of 2 textures and GPUs and anything, and these are simple regular image viewer functions that I don't know why Godot doesn't have this to flip and rotate images, because maybe they assume everyone can do it with shaders, or I don't know. Maybe it was just an oversight. For animation, sometimes with FBX animations, which we usually get from Mixamo and then edit ourselves, FBX has a problem that it doesn't save the edits to the animations, so these two scripts will help with that. And to rebuild the animation library automatically, which is also a very good thing to have, so that you don't have to add all animations manually every time you change packs or whatever. Just anything that we have to repeat many times is tried. At least I try to mitigate it with a script, basically. For maintenance, sometimes thumbnails don't refresh. This just forces them to refresh, and this was supposed to correct a bug that we already fixed, so these two are going to go away. This one is specifically for building test releases that get pushed to our Git, to the releases, and this means that this is an executable for the testers to check anything that has to be checked. It's just extract, run, no gimmicks, no opening projects, no downloading 1,000 gigabytes of data to test just one room. You know, this is very practical. For optimization, I don't really know what these two make, to be honest. I don't know. Or why they are even here. Okay, for assets, move selected to folder is just a shortcut to move OBJ files with the material libraries, which Godot doesn't do, and then we have a lot of errors of missing MTL files, which is kind of stupid if you think about it, because it's a companion file. It's not going to do anything by itself. And convert poser CR2 to GLTF. This is just a thing that I really wanted to have because I have an old version of Poser. I've had it for a very long time and never made good use of it, and it has some things that we can use to learn or just to try and... I wouldn't use them to kit bash because I don't know to which point the license covers that, so I wouldn't want to risk it. But for learning purposes, to see how, for example, a poser hair would fit in our character, and then we would try to recreate that look for example. It was not very used, and I don't believe it will be, but I don't know. Some things in my poser library are kind of cool, and I will try to recreate them, not exactly use them as they are, or parts of them. And finally, our git full pull to main is just that. It makes a commit automatically from inside Godot. It gets accepted, it gets published, everyone is happy.